Alright, welcome to the next video in course 2 on project management and administration. And in these first few videos we're still going through the Google Suite and Google platforms. And in this one we're going to introduce Google Calendar. So this is going to be a shorter video because it's one that probably is more familiar to people with, and it's not as complex as some of the other things that we've been through so far. So once again, let's just go ahead and open Google Calendar. So there it is. And I'm just going to pin it directly to the top of my thing. And every time this pops up, I'm just going to click block because I don't need that for now. So I'm going to pin it there. I'm going to right click, edit that, remove the name of that. So I just have this quick link to my calendar, and I'll adjust it to put it over there. And of course, these are all nicely customizable. Oh, I really don't like these new Google icons. They look too similar. So here's your Google Calendar. Now, a few quick notes on the overall layout, and then we'll go into some settings and how to share calendars and how to get customizable calendars and permissions and so on. So firstly, you'll always have this little mini calendar over on the side, so that's nice and easy to skip around, and so you can kind of quickly navigate where you want to go and see your various calendars. You can scroll through the months at the top, and you can also change to today by just clicking on today, and it'll jump right to where you are. If your layout does not look like this, you're probably looking at a different layout over here. And so you can choose between a day view, which is essentially going to be your daily planner, a week view, which looks like this, a month view, and then a year view and schedule, which again is just basically a zoomed out version of the small calendar. I tend to leave it on the month view because I find this to be the most useful and easy to access. You can also scroll through these by using your mouse wheel. So just by scrolling your mouse wheel, you can slide left to right through the different months. And by clicking on any day, you can create a new event. Now, there are some limitations of this little pop-up window when using on Windows, and I'll go through those in a minute. But if you're using a G Suite platform, the nice option is that you can add a Google Meet conference call to that event. And so that means that people no longer need to get email invites or schedule this or schedule that directly from the Google Calendar when the event is scheduled. They can just click directly into that link to join the video meeting. I find this to be a very useful tool. So it's always good to give your meetings and your events kind of short and simple names that are easy for people to understand. So, let's call this test event 1. You can make it an event, an out of office, an appointment. There's all sorts of things you can do here. We're just going to leave it as event for now. Find a time will basically allow people to vote on the best time for them. That's a useful feature if you're in a medium to larger size group. If it's a full day event, just leave it as default. But if it's at a specific time, please do add the time, the beginning and the end of the event. So let's say it's from 3 to 4. If you check an all day thing, it's just going to run for the whole thing. You can set the time zone, and you can also set it to repeat. So if you have a certain event that needs to happen on a regular basis, you can have it repeat daily at a certain time. You can have it repeat weekly on Mondays, monthly on the last Monday, annually, or every weekday, and most importantly, custom. And so custom will allow you to choose whether it's repeating every however many, what the duration is, and you can set the unit here, so days, weeks, month, years. So let's say you need it to be every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks for some bi-monthly meeting. You can do that, and then you can tell it which days to repeat on. So let's say it's like always Monday and Thursday every month, then you can say once per month. And now it's that actually wouldn't make sense. So twice per month. Sorry, that doesn't make sense. If it's going to be a week thing, there we have to do it like that. So there you go. So Monday and Thursday every 2 weeks, for example. And then you can also say, hey, this is only going to be going on for the duration of our project. So this will repeat forever, or this will repeat until, and you can set it to number of occurrences. So let's say we're going to have 20 meetings, so 20 of these things, and then that's done. It doesn't repeat anymore. Or you can give it a particular date. So like, let's say the end of the year. So we can say, at the end of December, this is done. So you can set an end date for your repeating event. So you can customize that repetition right there, which is very useful. And one thing that's cool when you do that, So here's where you can add your guests, and again, that'll send them an email. You can add a location if needed. Please do put a description. It's useful for people to understand what this meeting is about, and if there's something that they need to read beforehand, like a document or a draft of a thing, you can actually add that as an attachment there and ask them to read it beforehand. You can link people to different websites that you'd like them to review, so it's good to add a description here. And then very importantly is setting the calendar. So right from here, you'll see that you can actually choose which calendar it appears on. Now, by default, your first calendar, your default calendar, is going to be a personal calendar for you for that email address, which means that other people might not be able to see it. So I'm actually going to click on this, and that's going to pull up a bunch of calendars that we've created. So in this case, we'll call it an FIF event. As you can see, we've created a various number of calendars for different things where staff can request leave or overtime, and then once it's approved, it moves to approved. We've got nature days and events throughout the year. We've got the volunteer schedule. So these are all events that are shared. These are all calendars that are shared. So I'm going to put this one in our main calendar, which is FIF events. And you can also set notifications. So in this case, it'll do a notification. So that will be like a notification on your phone or on your computer. But you can also add notifications and have it be, one day before or something. And once we go into the additional settings for that, I'll show you how to send a notification email. You can also set these as private events that are only visible to people that you've invited. So you can learn more about that there. So once we've created this event, you'll notice here's this test event, but it's repeating because of the way I've set it up. So every 2 weeks, we have an event on Thursday and Monday. So, and then Thursday again, and then Monday, and that'll repeat just until the end of the year. So for me, I just had it stop at the end of December, so there won't be any more over here. So there's the last one. Now, a cool thing is that if I was to click on this event, there's a little summary. If I delete this, because it's a recurring event, it's going to ask me, hey, do you want to delete just this event, or this event and all the following events, or all the events in this series? So that's a useful thing if you're, cleaning up events or tidying events. And so, for example, you might have a workshop that runs every Monday and Wednesday. And so this one might be canceled for some reason. And so in that case, I need to cancel this event. So I'm just going to, select this event and delete this, but I'm only going to delete this event, and it's going to leave the other ones in place. If I select this and I click delete event, I can choose to delete this and the following events, which means only the events after it will delete, but the events before it will stay. So that's how you deal with events that are recurring. So now I'm just going to go ahead and delete all the events in this series, so all events, and all of my test events will now disappear. So what if you create an event? A common mistake that I see on Google Calendar is that they've created an event and they've forgotten to change the calendar. So they've just put it, and it's basically on their own calendar. This is a common mistake that I see with a lot of people with Google Calendar, is that they forget that there's multiple calendars and that your personal one might not be visible to your teammates. So on the left side where you see my calendars, you can actually turn these calendars off and on just by clicking these little checkboxes. So it's a really easy way to see events in different categories. And for example, this calendar is actually not visible to anybody else on our team. So I actually meant to put this event in the main shared events calendar. Well, no problem. So I'm just going to select it, and you go to options. Sorry, not options. You go to edit here. So edit event. And this is going to give you a little bit more options. And so from here, you can actually change the calendar that it's been assigned to. So I'll move it over to FIF events, and now it will be able to be seen by everybody. So that's a very common mistake that I see. And you can set custom colors for the events as well. You've got your other you've got your other actions over here, and this allows you to create a copy to different calendars as well, if for some reason you wanted to do that. Usually I don't recommend copying events to multiple calendars. I just recommend setting up your calendars to have the people access the different calendars that they need, and put it in the correct calendar at the beginning. Also here you can change from notification to email. So this is where you would add, if you wanted to have an email coming in the day before, an event to remind you. And that email will go to anybody that accepts the invitation. So you can once that goes out, then anybody who's accepted the event will be able to get those same email notifications and reminder notifications as well. When you're done at making changes here, just remember to click Save. As you probably know, it's very easy to change the day of the event. You can just move that around. That's super easy. So just click and hold and move it around. And again, if it's a time, you'll see that it shows up a little bit differently. It shows up as like this dot. But those dots are still movable. It'll keep the time and you can move it around. For recurring events, the same thing happens. When you move an event, it will ask, hey, do you want to make that move applicable to all of your events or just this one? And so sometimes you might have a recurring event that is every Monday and Wednesday, but maybe occasionally or from time to time you need it to be on a different day. And so you would just easily move it and it'll ask you, oh wait, do you want to move this one or all of them? Are we changing the whole schedule or just this one? So it'll confirm with you what you want to do with that. So email guests is also great. You can just immediately pull up a quick message and it'll allow you to send an update to the people that are part of this meeting or event. And you can, of course, invite anybody you want, whether they're inside your organization or guests or students or anybody. So what about the calendars over here? So how do we add new calendars? Well, pretty easy. Just add other calendar. And you can either subscribe to existing calendars or create a new calendar. You can also find a calendar just directly from the URL of that calendar. So to create a new calendar, it's very easy. You just give it a name, you describe why it's used, you set the default time zone for it, and that's it. So you're super done, super easy, and it'll go in. Once you do that, the next question would be, how do you get people into that calendar? So to do that, we're dealing now with sharing settings and permissions. And so what we would do is we would go over to our calendar. So let's say FIF events. And here's this little options menu, these three dots that we're looking for. So we're going to, not only can you change the colors here and, display only or hide, but we can also get settings and sharings. So we're going to click on that. And so everything that we're looking now, all these settings are in relation to this particular calendar, FIF events, right? You can see it's selected here. And so if you scroll down a bit, you'll see that you have this option to share it. So I can go ahead and add some people here. So let's go ahead and add our administrator, and then you can set the permissions for them. And you can add multiple people here to this list, right? So you can add as many people as you want. Oops. Right, so you can add different people to your list here, and you can then set the permissions for that. So you can give people the options to see the events and all the details, but they cannot adjust it. So that might be useful for approved leave days. You don't want your staff maybe moving the leave days around once they've been approved, but you do want them to be able to see it, and see when people are off and when people are on. Here is make changes to events, but not manage the sharing settings. And then the kind of, this is full control. So make changes and manage sharing. And so there's different ways in which you can set the permissions, and you can always adjust that later. So once somebody is in there, you'll see they will show up right here with their name and email and with their permission over there. And you can actually adjust the permission directly from here. The event notification, this is calendar wide. So you can set the default behavior for any event created on that calendar. So let's say you wanted to have a 15-minute notification as well as a 1 day before email. So this way, every event that you get will send an email the day before, and then will notify you in 15 minutes to remind you about those events. Any event created on this calendar will pull that by default. All right. This is for events, and then you have separate conditions for all-day events. So again, you could set up your own customized thing for particular timed events versus all-day events. Down here, we've got all sorts of things like emails, and then you've got your calendar ID. This is your public URL to this calendar. So another user, if they wanted to request to join this calendar, you could send them this URL, and they could use that to join the calendar. You also have an embed code if for some reason you want to share the calendar. This is an iframe, which we're going to get into in our later lessons on communications and design. That'll be probably in our design section. And then there's a few things over here that you should just be familiar with. So you have auto accept invitations. These are just all different settings that you can go through. They're all available from here. But yeah, you should just note these settings over here on the left. The most important ones are just understanding how to create new calendars, understanding how to set the default notifications, the sharing and the permission settings. Here's your shareable link as well if you just want a quick link to be able to copy it. So you can just copy like so. And I think that is going to summarize it for that part. Is there anything else that's important to know with calendar? Oh, right. So, of course, once you're here, you can also just jump over to another calendar shared settings. So each one of these, if you click on them over here on the left, you'll get the same settings menu for each calendar. Ah, yes, I have some other things I want to show you. So another thing I want to show you is, for example, let's say you wanted to overlay public holidays. You don't need to create that. You can actually browse for calendars of interest. And so, for example, here's some kind of common ones, but you can also just search and find calendars online. So, for example, from a URL. So I can find the URL. So let's go ahead and just demonstrate how we would do this. So I'm just going to search that. Official holidays Cambodia, and now look in Google Calendar. Let's see if this works. So let's try this. Show the name. So calendar. Wait. Subscribe to national holidays for Cambodia. Okay, copy text. So let's see if this works. So we're going to go paste. And then we can make this calendar publicly accessible or not. So let's add that calendar and see what happens. And there we go, Cambodian holidays. And so basically to share this, you would just need to give people this same URL, and they can add it to their calendar as well. So this is not one of your calendars. This is another calendar, right? And so now if we go back home, we can actually see the Cambodian public holidays and turn them off and on. And so it's that easy to, and obviously you can't adjust these because this is a set calendar. Yeah, and so that was the last really important thing to note. And there's all sorts of customized calendars that you can see. This is one that we actually created ourselves, but I am happy to make that free for everybody. This is one of our volunteers. Jenny put this together for us. And so basically it's all the kind of nature days throughout the world. So World Fisheries Day, World Soil Day, World Rivers Day. So it's just kind of like useful if you decide, you know what, it would be nice to see where all the events are around the world, and maybe we can come up with something, you know, that lines up on it. World Cleanup Day, World Rhino Day. Okay, there's no rhinos in Cambodia, but, you know, World Rivers Day could be great for Cambodia. So there's all sorts of things that you can do with that. And actually, you know what, I'll go ahead and adjust the sharing settings of this so that it's available to the public. So there we go. And I'll get that shareable link and I will paste that into the description of this video as well. So anybody working in conservation that would like to add that to their calendar, you're welcome to do. So I might even change it. International Nature Days. Oh my gosh, my spelling. There we go. Boom, done. Also, settings here automatically save, so that's nice. So yeah, there you go. So this is just some basic overviews of what you can do with Google Calendar, and as you can see, there's a lot of useful things in here. I didn't even get into integrations with Asana, but we might do that in the Asana video coming later. So thanks for sticking around, and hope you found some of this helpful.